Most people don't ruin their lives in one big mistake. They ruin it quietly. They ruin it by hitting the snooze button one more time, by saying, "I'll start next week," by waiting for motivation instead of moving with discipline, by scrolling through other people's dreams while their own life slowly slips away. Let me ask you something, and don't answer out loud, answer honestly. If nothing changes, if you keep living the same way you're living right now, same habits, same mindset, same excuses, where will you be at the end of 2026? Not where you hope to be, not where you wish to be, where you'll actually be. Because hope without action is just a lie we tell ourselves to feel better. Here's the scary part. Nobody is coming to save you. No perfect moment, no miracle call, no sudden burst of motivation that fixes everything. And one day, if you're not careful, you'll wake up older, tired, and frustrated, asking the most painful question a human being can ask. Where did my life go? See, time doesn't warn you before it leaves. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and say, "Hey," it just passes silently, permanently. And 2026 is not just another year. It is a line in the sand. Because the truth is brutal, but it's also freeing. You don't get unlimited chances. You don't get unlimited energy. You don't get unlimited time. But you do get this moment. You do get this year. You do get this decision. And what you choose to do next will determine whether 2026 becomes the year you finally stepped into your purpose, or just another year you survived, but never truly lived. So before this year takes anything else from you, ask yourself one question and don't run from the answer. Are you ready to stop wasting your life? Or are you comfortable watching it pass you by? Time is the one thing you will never get back. And yet it's the thing most people treat like it's unlimited. You spend it like you've got a lifetime supply, like tomorrow is guaranteed, like there will always be another chance to fix what you're ignoring today. But the truth is, every single second that passes is gone forever. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose a job and find another one. You can even lose relationships and rebuild new ones. But once time leaves your life, it never returns. There are no refunds, no rewinds, no extensions. Think about how fast the last few years went by. One moment you were planning, dreaming, saying one day, and the next moment those days turned into years. Time doesn't move fast or slow. It moves at the same pace for everyone. The only difference is how people use it. Some people look back and see progress, growth, lessons, and results. Others look back and see regret, procrastination, and wasted potential. And the scariest part, both types of people had the same 24 hours in a day. Most people don't waste time intentionally. They waste it accidentally. They waste it by being distracted. They waste it by doing things that feel good now but cost them later. They waste it by saying yes to things that don't matter and no to the things that could change their life. Hours disappear on social media, meaningless conversations, complaining, and worrying about things they can't control. Then one day, they wake up and wonder why nothing has changed. Time is constantly giving you feedback, but most people don't listen. When you keep repeating the same year over and over again, that's time telling you something. When you keep feeling stuck, frustrated, and unfulfilled, that's time warning you. When opportunities come and go because you weren't ready, that's time reminding you that preparation matters. Time doesn't speak with words, it speaks with consequences. Here's the hard truth: wasting time is a luxury you can't afford anymore. There comes a point in life when "I'm still young" stops being a valid excuse. There comes a point when potential without progress becomes a burden instead of a blessing. You can only live off what I could be for so long before it turns into regret. And regret is heavy. It sits with you at night. It whispers to you when things get quiet. It shows up when you realize you're older, but not wiser, busy, but not fulfilled, tired, but not successful. Every day you delay becoming disciplined, you're borrowing time from your future. Every habit you ignore today becomes a problem you'll have to face tomorrow. Every dream you postpone doesn't disappear, it waits. And waiting dreams don't get easier, they get harder. They demand more energy, more courage, and more sacrifice the longer you put them off. People think wasting time looks like laziness, but that's not always true. Some of the biggest time wasters are busy people. People who are always doing something, Always moving, always exhausted, but never moving in the right direction. Activity without purpose is still wasted time. Being busy doesn't mean you're building something meaningful. It just means you're distracted. Time also exposes priorities. You always make time for what matters to you. If something is important enough, you find a way. If it's not, you find an excuse. That's not judgment, that's reality. Look at how you spend your days, and you'll see exactly what you value. Not what you say you value, but what you actually value. Time never lies. And here's what most people don't understand until it's too late. Time speeds up when you're not intentional. Days blur together. Weeks disappear. Months pass without memories. That's what happens when you live on autopilot. When you wake up, go through the motions, and go to sleep without purpose, life becomes a blur. And before you know it, you're asking yourself how you got here. Time is a test. It tests your discipline. It tests your patience. It tests your faith. It tests whether you're serious about the life you say you want. Everyone wants success, happiness, and freedom, but not everyone is willing to invest their time wisely. And time is the currency of achievement. You don't pay for your dreams with words. You pay with hours, effort, and consistency. You don't need more time. You need better decisions with the time you already have. You need to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start working with the moment you're in. The perfect time doesn't exist. There will always be fear. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be reasons to delay. But time doesn't wait for confidence. It moves forward regardless. One day, you will look back at this phase of your life. And when that day comes, you will either be proud of how you used your time, or you will be haunted by how you wasted it. There is no middle ground. Life doesn't grade on effort. It grades on results. So understand this clearly. Every morning you wake up is a gift. Not a guarantee, not a routine. A gift. And what you do with that gift determines the quality of your life. If you treat time casually, life will treat you casually. If you respect time, life will reward you. 2026 is not just another year to survive. It's another year closer to the end of your story. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Because when you finally understand that time is limited, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You stop delaying your growth. You stop living like you've got forever. You start living like your life actually matters. And it does. Comfort feels good, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. It doesn't arrive screaming for your attention. It whispers. It tells you that you've done enough for today, that tomorrow will be a better time to push harder, that there's no real urgency to change because things aren't that bad. Comfort doesn't look like failure. It looks like safety. It looks like routine. It looks like a life that's okay. And that's how it slowly pulls you away from the life you were meant to live. The problem with comfort is that it never asks anything of you. It doesn't demand growth. It doesn't challenge your limits. It doesn't force you to confront your fears. It lets you stay exactly where you are, and staying exactly where you are feels harmless until years pass and you realize you haven't moved at all. Destiny requires movement. Comfort prefers stillness. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they get comfortable too soon. They stop pushing once they reach a level that feels acceptable. They trade their dreams for stability, their potential for predictability. And while there's nothing wrong with stability, it becomes dangerous when it replaces purpose. A stable life without growth eventually becomes a prison with nice furniture. Comfort convinces you that effort is optional. It tells you that you deserve rest before the work is finished. It rewards you for surviving instead of striving. And over time, your standards drop. What once felt unacceptable becomes normal. What once motivated you becomes something who's to care about. Comfort slowly lowers the ceiling on your life. Think about this. Nothing great you admire came from comfort. Growth happens in uncertainty. Strength is built under pressure. Confidence is formed by doing hard things repeatedly. The person you want to become lives on the other side of discomfort. There is no shortcut around it. Every meaningful transformation requires you to step into situations that stretch you, scare you, and test you. Comfort also creates excuses that sound reasonable. I don't want to risk what I already have. I'll wait until things settle down. I'm just being realistic. But realism without courage becomes limitation. Playing it safe may protect you from failure, but it also protects you from success. You cannot reach a new level of life using the same habits that made you comfortable where you are. The most dangerous comfort zone is the mental one. It's when you stop questioning yourself, when you stop learning, when you stop imagining a bigger future, when your mind becomes allergic to new ideas because new ideas threaten your routine. Once your thinking becomes comfortable, your life follows. And a comfortable mind will always choose ease over excellence. Comfort makes you forget what hunger feels like. Not physical hunger, but the hunger to grow, to prove something to yourself, to chase something bigger than convenience. That hunger is what fuels progress. Without it, you drift, you settle, you accept. And acceptance without intention is surrender. Here's the truth: most people avoid your destiny will require you to let go of certain comforts. You may have to let go of familiar environments, familiar people, familiar habits. Not everything comfortable is bad, but not everything comfortable is meant to stay. Some things are in your life for a season, not a lifetime, and holding on to them too long can delay where you're supposed to go. Comfort also dulls urgency. It makes you feel like time is on your side, like you can afford to wait. But destiny has a window. Opportunities don't wait forever. Energy doesn't last forever. The longer you stay comfortable, the harder it becomes to start over. What feels safe today may become regret tomorrow. Discomfort, on the other hand, sharpens you. It forces clarity. It forces commitment. When something is uncomfortable, you pay attention, you adapt, you grow. Discomfort reveals what you're capable of. It introduces you to strengths you didn't know you had. Comfort hides those strengths because it never calls them forward. Many people confuse peace with comfort. Peace comes from alignment, living in truth, purpose, and integrity. Comfort comes from avoidance, avoiding fear, pain, and effort. Peace can exist in hard seasons. Comfort cannot. If your life is always comfortable, it's a sign that you're avoiding something you need to face. Destiny is not convenient. It doesn't fit neatly into your schedule. It doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't arrive when you're fully ready. It shows up when you're willing to risk embarrassment, willing to fail, willing to look foolish while learning, willing to be uncomfortable for a while so you don't stay unfulfilled forever. You were not created just to be comfortable. You were created to grow, to contribute, to stretch beyond what's familiar. Comfort asks, how can I protect myself? Destiny asks, how can I become who I was meant to be? And you cannot answer both questions at the same time. At some point, you have to decide whether you want a comfortable life or a meaningful one. Because a meaningful life will challenge you. It will disrupt you. It will demand more from you than you think you can give, and then show you that you were capable all along. If 2026 looks exactly like the years before it, comfort won. But if it pushes you, stretches you, and forces you to grow, then you're finally moving toward destiny. Discomfort is not the enemy. Comfort is. And the moment you understand that, your life begins to change. From the moment you were born, your life was meant to stand for something. Not just to exist, not just to pass time, not just to wake up, work, eat, sleep, and repeat until the years run out. Yet that's exactly how many people live. Trapped in a cycle of survival, mistaking a paycheck for a purpose. They measure their life by how much they earn instead of how much they grow, give, and become. And slowly, without even realizing it, they shrink their destiny down to a routine. A paycheck is important. It keeps the lights on. It pays the bills. It puts food on the table. But it was never meant to be the definition of your life. When money becomes the only reason you get up in the morning, something inside you starts to fade. You feel it in those quiet moments when the noise stops and you're left alone with your thoughts. There's a restlessness that won't go away, a feeling that there's more you were meant to do, more you were meant to be. Purpose is not about a job title. It's about impact. It's about contribution. It's about using what you've been given, your experiences, your talents, your struggles, your voice, to make a difference beyond yourself. Purpose is what gives meaning to the grind. Without it, even success feels empty. You can have money, comfort, and stability, and still feel lost if you're disconnected from why you're here. Most people don't ignore their purpose because they're lazy. They ignore it because they're afraid. Purpose asks hard questions. It asks you to step outside of what's safe. It challenges the version of you that just wants to blend in and be accepted. Purpose demands courage, and courage always carries risk. So instead, people settle for what's predictable. They choose security over calling. They convince themselves that purpose is a luxury, something they'll explore one day when life slows down. But life doesn't slow down, it speeds up. And the longer you delay your purpose, the louder that inner dissatisfaction becomes. You start feeling like you're living someone else's life, like you're showing up every day, but leaving your real self at the door. That's not burnout, that's misalignment. That's what happens when your life and your purpose are going in different directions. Purpose often reveals itself through pain, through the things you've survived, through the struggles that shaped you, through the lessons you learned the hard way. What you've been through is not random. The very things you wish never happened to you might be the tools you're meant to use to help someone else. Your story has value. Your experiences carry weight. And when you ignore that, the world misses out on what only you can offer. A paycheck rewards time. Purpose rewards faith. A paycheck ends when the workday is over. Purpose follows you everywhere because it's tied to who you are, not what you do. When you live on purpose, your work has meaning even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it doesn't pay immediately. Purpose gives you endurance. It gives you resilience. It gives you a reason to keep going when motivation fades. Too many people wait for permission to live on purpose. They wait for validation. They wait for approval. They wait for the perfect opportunity. But purpose doesn't come with a formal invitation. It comes as a quiet pull, a persistent thought, a feeling that won't leave you alone. And the more you ignore it, the heavier it becomes. Purpose doesn't disappear when you avoid it, it just waits. Living only for a paycheck eventually leads to regret, because one day you'll realize that you traded your potential for convenience, that you stayed in places you outgrew because they were familiar, that you silenced your calling because it was inconvenient, and no amount of money can buy back the years spent disconnected from your purpose. Purpose doesn't mean you quit everything and chase a dream recklessly. It means you start aligning your life with what matters. It means you stop living just to survive and start living to contribute. It means you make choices today that move you closer to who you're meant to become, even if they're uncomfortable, even if they're slow. When you live on purpose, your life gains direction. You're no longer just reacting to circumstances, you're responding with intention. You stop asking, what pays the most? And start asking, what matters most? And when those two align, that's where fulfillment lies. You were not created to spend your entire life counting hours, waiting for weekends and dreading Mondays. You were created to grow, to serve, to lead, to inspire, to build, to heal, to create. The world does not need another person just surviving. It needs people who are awake, intentional, and driven by purpose. 2026 cannot be another year where you sell your time but ignore your calling. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to stop pretending that a paycheck is enough, because deep down you already know it isn't. Your purpose is calling, and the only real question left is whether you're finally ready to answer. Excuses are easy to make, and that's why they're so expensive. They don't cost you anything today, but they charge you everything tomorrow. Most people don't realize how dangerous excuses are because they sound reasonable. They feel justified, they give you relief in the moment. But every excuse you accept becomes a brick in the wall between you and the future you say you want. An excuse is not just a reason, it's a decision. It's the decision to delay action, to avoid discomfort, to stay where you are instead of moving toward where you should be. And the longer you rely on excuses, the more comfortable you become with mediocrity. What starts as, I'll do it later, slowly turns into, this is just how life is. People often blame their past. They say they didn't grow up with the right support, the right opportunities, the right connections. And while your past may explain your starting point, it does not justify your stopping point. You cannot change what happened to you, but you are fully responsible for what you do next. Carrying your past as an excuse only ensures that it continues to control your future. Fear is one of the most common excuses, but it rarely shows up honestly. It hides behind phrases like, "I'm not ready," "I need more time," or "I don't want to mess this up." Fear convinces you that waiting is safer than trying. But fear doesn't protect you, it traps you. It keeps you stuck in a life that feels familiar but unfulfilled. And the tragedy is that fear never goes away on its own. It shrinks only when you move toward it. Another popular excuse is comfort disguised as logic. You tell yourself it's not the right time, that the risk is too high, that you have responsibilities. And while responsibilities are real, they can also become shields you hide behind to avoid change. Plenty of people have built meaningful lives while carrying responsibilities. The difference is not circumstance, it's courage. Excuses also thrive in comparison. You look at others and convince yourself that they had it easier, that they're more talented, that they were luckier. But comparison does nothing but distract you from your own path. Every minute you spend measuring yourself against someone else is a minute you're not investing in becoming better than you were yesterday. Your future does not care about someone else's journey. It only responds to your actions. One of the most damaging excuses is waiting for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. If you wait to feel like doing the work, you'll spend most of your life waiting. Discipline is what changes lives, not motivation. And discipline begins the moment you stop negotiating with yourself. The moment you stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" and start saying, "This is who I am now." Excuses slowly change your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone capable of change and start seeing yourself as someone who just is the way they are. That's a dangerous place to be. Because when you believe you can't change, you stop trying. And when you stop trying, life passes you by. Not because you weren't capable, but because you convinced yourself that you weren't. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Nobody is coming to hold you accountable. Nobody is tracking your potential. The world rewards results, not intentions. It doesn't care how many plans you made or how many times you promised yourself you'd start. It responds only to action. And excuses are invisible to the world. They only exist in your mind. Every excuse you make today steals from your future self. It steals confidence. It steals momentum. It steals self-respect. Because deep down, you know when you're capable of more. And every time you choose an excuse over effort, you weaken your trust in yourself. You teach yourself that your word doesn't matter. And once you lose trust in yourself, rebuilding it is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Excuses also multiply. One leads to another. You skip one day, then another. You delay once, then again. And soon procrastination becomes a habit. At that point, it's no longer about circumstances, it's about patterns. And patterns shape outcomes. Your future is being built right now by the patterns you repeat daily. Taking responsibility is uncomfortable, but it's powerful. The moment you stop blaming and start owning your choices, everything changes. Responsibility gives you control. It puts the power back in your hands. As long as it's someone else's fault, you're powerless. The moment it becomes your responsibility, change becomes possible. Your excuses may feel small, but their impact is not. They shape your habits. Your habits shape your character, and your character shapes your destiny. No dream dies suddenly. It dies slowly, buried under excuses. 2026 cannot be another year where you explain why you didn't start. Another year where you justify why you stayed the same. Another year where you talk yourself out of becoming who you know you could be. At some point, you have to decide what matters more, your excuses or your future, because you cannot keep both. And the moment you let go of excuses, you take the first real step toward the life you've been delaying. There comes a moment in every person's life when drifting is no longer an option, when waiting becomes more painful than trying, when staying the same starts to cost more than changing. That moment is not announced with noise or drama. It arrives quietly, and if you're paying attention, you can feel it. 2026 is that moment, not because the calendar changed, but because you can't afford to keep postponing the life you know you're meant to live. Decision is the difference between wishing and becoming. Most people spend their lives thinking, planning, hoping, and talking, but very few decide. And without a decision, nothing changes. You can watch motivational videos, read books, listen to speeches, and still stay stuck if you never decide. Decision is not emotion, it's commitment. It's the line you draw in your mind that says, this is where it ends and something new begins. What makes decision powerful is that it removes options. When you decide, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop leaving the door open for excuses. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You accept that the road will be uncomfortable, uncertain, and imperfect, and you move anyway. Most people never change because they keep giving themselves a way out. Decision closes that exit. For years, you may have told yourself that you'll change when things calm down, when you have more time, when you feel more confident. But those conditions rarely arrive. Life stays busy. Fear doesn't disappear. Confidence is built after action, not before it. Waiting has kept you exactly where you are. Decision is what breaks that cycle. When you decide, your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who trees and start seeing yourself as someone who does. That shift is subtle, but it's everything. Because once your identity changes, your behavior follows. You don't need to be motivated to act in alignment with who you believe you are. You act because it's who you are now. Decision also brings clarity. When you're undecided, everything feels overwhelming. Too many choices, too many opinions, too much noise. But once you decide what matters, distractions lose their power. You become selective with your time. You become intentional with your energy. You stop chasing everything and start building something. 2026 must be the year you stop living in the gap between who you are and who you know you could be. That gap is where frustration lies. That gap is where regret grows. And the longer you stay there, the heavier it becomes. Decision is the bridge out of that gap. Making a decision doesn't mean you won't struggle. It means you'll struggle with direction. It doesn't mean you won't fail. It means failure will no longer stop you. It doesn't mean you'll always feel confident. It means you'll move even when you don't. Decision doesn't eliminate difficulty, it gives difficulty a purpose. Many people confuse decision with instant results. They decide for a week, don't see change, and then quit. That's not decision, that's hope disguised as effort. Real decision is quiet. It shows up daily. It's consistent. It's boring. It's choosing the long road when the shortcut is tempting. It's doing the work when no one is watching. Once you decide, you'll start noticing resistance. Old habits will fight back. Old versions of you will try to reappear. People may question you. Some may not understand the new boundaries you set. That resistance is not a sign that you're wrong. It's a sign that you're changing. Growth always challenges what's familiar. 2026 cannot be another year where you start strong and fade quietly. Another year where you promise yourself change but settle for comfort. Another year where you let fear decide for you. Because if you don't decide, life will decide for you. And it rarely chooses what's best. Decision is an act of self-respect. It's you saying that your future matters more than your comfort, that your potential is worth protecting, that your life is too valuable to live on autopilot. When you decide, you take ownership, and ownership is where power lies. You don't need to decide everything at once. You just need to decide to stop going backward. Decide to stop quitting on yourself. Decide to stop accepting the version of life that leaves you unfulfilled. One clear decision, honored daily, can change the direction of your entire life. Years from now, you will look back at 2026 as either the year you finally stood up for yourself or just another year you talked about change. That choice is being presented to you right now. This is not about perfection, it's about direction. And once you decide once and for all, everything else begins to fall into place. One day, you will look back at this season of your life and you will remember this moment. Not because everything was clear, not because you had it all figured out, but because this was the moment you were finally honest with yourself. Honest about your time. Honest about your comfort. Honest about your purpose. Honest about your excuses. Honest about the decisions you've been avoiding. Life does not change because you listen to a speech. It changes because you act on what the truth revealed to you. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. Inspiration without discipline is just noise. And you are running out of time to keep confusing awareness with progress. 2026 is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be serious. Serious about how you spend your days. Serious about what you tolerate. serious about the life you're building when no one is watching, because your future is being shaped right now by what you do after this ends. Stop waiting for confidence. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the right moment. The right moment is the one where you decide that your life is worth the effort, that your dreams are worth the discomfort, that your purpose is worth the sacrifice. If you don't choose a direction, you will drift. If you don't set a standard, you will settle. If you don't decide, life will decide for you, and you won't like the result. Let this be the year you stop wasting potential, the year you stop negotiating with your excuses, the year you stop living on autopilot, because the truth is simple and unforgiving. You only get one life, not two, not a rehearsal, not a restart. And if you don't take control of it now, one day you'll realize it passed you by while you were waiting. Don't let that be your story. Stand up, decide, and make 2026 the year your life finally means something.